Okay. We're going to continue on with chapter 6, 6.4, and it's on page 241, 241, 241. This is knowing people, places, and facts. Conocer and saber. There are two ways to say to know. To know. Conocer, to know, and saber, to know. They both mean to know, but you can't use them interchangeably. You have to use one for certain things and the other for another thing. Conocer is to know people. Like, do you know him? Or do you know that place? And saber is information and facts. Like, do you know what 9 times 5 is? So that's the difference between conocer and saber. So conocer, I'm just reading in the book, is used in the sense to be acquainted or familiar with. It's normally used with people and places, and saber, to know, is used in the sense of to know facts, information, or when followed by an infinitive, to know how to do something. For example, and it's irregular, so it's yo sé nadar, I know how to swim. So you could put an infinitive, which is a verb. In English it's to swim, a verb with to in front of it, or in Spanish it's those verbs that haven't been conjugated out. They either end in AR, ER, or IR. So we have here are all the conjugated forms of conocer. Conocer has a Z in it when it's conjugated in many of the form. Well, in the first first person singular, and then on the rest of it it's normal. So I was wrong about that. It's just first person singular. So you have yo conozco, I know. Tú conoces, you know. Él or ella, he or she, conoce, he or she knows. Nosotros conocemos, we know. And ustedes or ellos or ellas conocen, and that is y'all or we know. But it make sure you realize that's just like, oh, I know that restaurant, or I know that person. That's for conocer. Then for saber is like, oh yeah, I know that I know that math fact, or I know that information, or I know. You could also do, I know how to do something. I know how to swim. I know how to draw, things like that. Okay, so saber, we're doing saber. That's the know how to, or to know information or facts. And this is irregular, just in the first person. Yo sé. You might have heard people say, around here, no sé, because you don't have to use the yo. You could say yo no sé, but I don't know. You'll hear that all the time. People say, hey, did you know that, or do you know if the store will be closed tonight? No sé, yo no sé. Okay, so my hair is freaking me out. I can see myself when I'm filming these. It's just awful. Okay, so yo sé, I know. Tú sabes, you know. Él or ella or usted sabe, he or she knows, or the usted form is you know in formal. Nosotros sabemos, we know, and ustedes, ellos, or ellas saben, they know, or y'all know. So here's how it works. Let's look at some of these examples. Note that the preposition a, which usually means to, precedes a direct object noun when that noun is a person. This use of the a, the letter A, is called a personal a. Personal a. Do you know Carla Espinosa? Conoces a Carla Espinosa. You have to use that a if you're talking about a person. Do you know this person? You have to put an a in front of them. Yes, and I also know her brother. Sí, Y conozco también a su hermano. Okay, conozco. I know her brother. Y conoces también a su amigo Rogelio. And do you also know her friend Rogelio? No, a él no lo conozco. No, I don't know him. That lo is direct object. I'm not covering direct objects. They're on the next page. They start on 6.5. We're going to skip that because I really need to get to chapter 7. So, for the summer class that I'm doing. If I ever do this again, we might be doing 6.5, but not right now. Okay, look at the next thing. ¿Conoces muy bien la Ciudad de México? Do you know Mexico City well? Todavía no, not yet. No, I don't. Maybe a person just moved there. I lived in Mexico City for 1 month. I lived in Mexico for 3 years. And you can't know that city well at all. Even the taxi drivers, when I was with some friends who spoke Spanish and lived there their whole lives in Mexico City, they were kind of trying to figure out where this place was we were trying to go. That's a cab driver who's lived there his whole life. It's a huge, huge city, huge. All right, sabes, okay, now we're on saber. Sabes nadar? Do you know how to swim? No, I don't know how to swim. No sé nadar. You could say yo no sé nadar. That's perfectly fine. It's just I don't know how to swim. Do you know where the restaurant is? Okay, so if you could say, hey, do you know that restaurant? Like, have you been to that restaurant? That would be conoces ese restaurante. But this is do you know where it is? That's information. So, ¿sabes dónde está el restaurante? And they say, no sé. ¿Sabes si hay una biblioteca cerca? Do you know if there is a library near? No sé. They don't know much, do they? The preterite, the past tense of conocer, there are some of the forms. Conocí, conociste, conoció, and they're not doing the conocimos and conocieron yet. They're going to do that in chapter 7. So if you say, hey, I met Raúl last week. Conocí a Raúl la semana pasada. Okay, the next page is the activity you're going to do. Exercise 7. Mr. Valdez, let's see, has only been living in this neighborhood for 1 week. And this neighborhood's in San Vicente. He's talking with his neighbor, Don Eduardo. So we're going to complete these sentences with the appropriate question. And what is the appropriate question? Is it going to be the conoce usted or sabe usted? Because remember, if you're talking about a person or like a place, not where a place is. If you're asking where a place is, you're going to use saber. But if you're just talking about, hey, do you know that place? Do you know? Have you been to California? Are you acquainted with California? We would probably say, have you been there? But they use conocer. So, okay, I'll give you a couple of help examples with this. The first one, it says, a los dueños de la casa de la esquina, the owners of the house in the corner. Do you know the owner? You're going to put do you know in front. So it says, a los dueños de la casa de la esquina. This is on the top of page 242, by the way, in case you're lost. Which one are you going to use? Well, it's are you acquainted with those people? So you're going to use conoce usted. You're either choosing with conoce usted or sabe usted. I would like for you to write these out since I'm only giving you one for this thing. Conoce usted a los dueños de la casa de la esquina. Are you acquainted with the owners of the house on the corner? And then anytime you see you can rest assured you're going to use conocer in front of a name. And if it's a name, you're probably going to do it. So that's number 1. I don't want to do number 2 because I think that's easy. Okay, number 3. So I'll help you with number 3. Si hay una farmacia cerca. Now remember, si without an accent mark means if. It does not mean yes. So if there is a pharmacy near, do you know if there's a pharmacy near? And that's going to be what? ¿Sabe usted? Do you know? ¿Sabe usted si hay una farmacia cerca? Do you know if there is a pharmacy near? Because it's not asking, are you acquainted? Or do you know that? Hey, have you been to that pharmacy? Now, if it's that case, you would use conoce la farmacia. Do you know that pharmacy? Okay, so in this case, it's going to be sabe usted. So number 1 is conoce usted, and number 3 is sabe usted. And that is the end of this lesson. Adiós, nos vemos, que les vaya muy bien.